But Unifi Capital has been in portfolio management service for almost 2 decades. Why did you feel the need to start a mutual fund?
George, the best thing about the portfolio management business has been you get to deal with some of the most accomplished people across the country. But one constraint is you can't deal with people who can't put in 50 lakhs. That's the regulatory minimum, as you know.
That's right.
So I can recall so many youngsters, friends and family, and increasingly references of our increasingly larger customer base across the country who wanted to deal with us, but we couldn't deal with them because of this 50 lakh minimum.
Right.
And we've ended up having to refer them to a mutual fund. And when I look back at what we've done, we've referred them to a mutual fund that it's turned out that a large majority of our mutual funds in this country, they're not strategy focused. They're either cap focused or they're sector focused. So if somebody puts money into a financial services sector fund or say an IT fund, he has to take the responsibility to get the timing right. It's an inevitable cycle across caps and across sectors. How is a layperson going to get that timing right? Even professionals often get it wrong.
Right.
So it became clear over time that there is a huge need and an opportunity if we could come up with an all-weather fund where we would take the responsibility to find the opportunities and equally stay away from opportunities that were either on the wrong end of the cycle,
right,
or an opportunity which would take you onto a negative and a long wait for an inflection. So we said, if we can combine that with the other big learning that we've had as a portfolio manager, is the big gap between the return that the fund earns and the investor earns seems to come from people getting in and out at the wrong time. And the thing that seems to bridge that gap is hand-holding. So if the professional investment manager takes the responsibility to hand-hold that customer, then he's more than likely to see the volatility through. But that means that we have to be service-oriented. How do you create a mutual fund, which historically all mutual funds seem to think of themselves as providers of a product?
Right.
Could we rethink that and think of ourselves as providers of a service? Draw from Unifi Capital's DNA of being service-oriented and create an actively managed all-weather fund that thinks of itself as a service and not a product. And so that's where the opportunity lies, and that's where the challenge lies. We know that's what we need to do. We don't have all the answers, but the commitment to do it is there.
Right.
The other thing that I should also mention is the fixed income opportunity. Every investor has to have some money in fixed income, just because the unpredictability of equity combined with the unpredictability of life can put you in situations where you would rather have fixed income that you can draw on.
Right.
But when you look at the options that are available, they all seem to look alike.
Right.
There's hardly any differentiation in fixed income. So what we're saying is, if we can draw upon the high yield experience that we've had in the parent. Let me just take a minute to tell you what we've done in the parent, the sponsor of Unifi Mutual Fund, Unifi Capital. 12 years ago, we got a license from SEBI to set up an AIF. And we've invested in about 75 different issuers of bonds. In all cases, we did the diligence ourselves, rather than believing in a credit rating. And that one thing made all the difference, because it took us into opportunities that we would otherwise have missed.
Yeah.
And over time, we've developed the processes and the experience in our team to be able to do it confidently, of both managing the risks and being able to participate in those exceptional returns.
Yeah.
But there's one learning, and that is that the high yield space is not infinite. The opportunities are limited, and a manager has to be willing to stay within the opportunity size. Limit the amount of money we take, give ourselves enough time to digest it before we go out and raise more money. So if you're willing to do that, there is an opportunity on the fixed income side to create a truly distinctive, bottom-up, diligence-oriented, high-yield investment-oriented fund that will, I think, provide a lot of interest, especially to sophisticated investors and family offices. So this is really the foundation on which we hope to pursue the mutual fund.
It's fantastic. What is it that Unifi transfers by way of learnings into the new mutual fund that will make it unique?
I'll summarize it this way, George. 3 things. When we started as an independent manager 20 odd years ago, portfolio management itself was a new concept. Most people didn't even know it. So there was just one way for us to survive, and that was to perform. If we didn't perform, we would have perished in no time. Nobody would have missed us. And they say, necessity creates strengths, and it became very much a part of who Unifi is today. And that is our culture. To be performance oriented, not just on the investment side, equally on the customer relationship side. We need to find a way to communicate that gives the customer what he needs in terms of the information, not superfluous, unnecessary information, just the right amount of information for him to stay the course. So if we can find a way to transfer that culture of Unifi's DNA to the mutual fund, then I think we have something that is quite strong and powerful, and it has a way of translating into a customer experience that results in very high retention rates over the years. The second one that I should talk about is value investing means very different things to different managers.
Right.
For us, it's always been about buying growth businesses at a reasonable price. And over the years, we figured out different metrics that work better as lead indicators than others. And those processes became policies. And those policies have become day-to-day workflows within the research team. So the 15 or so guys whose job it is to go find value don't need to be told what to look for. It's so much a part of the way they think and work. And once again, if we can find a way to translate those learnings, and I must add that one of the things that we've consciously tried to do is to learn from our mistakes. And we've not just kept it as an informal learning, we've tried to formalize it by documenting our mistakes. And that institutionalization or attempt to institutionalize our knowledge has left some value in our minds and in our workflows.
Right.
And that's the idea. If we can translate that, we have a lot of value. 23 years of learnings on day one is a lot of value. And lastly, our good fortune is that we've been able to move 4 really talented and experienced analysts and fund managers to the new company, to the AMC. Sarvanan, who's our CIO, has spent 19 years with the parent. So who better than him to take all of these philosophies and processes and work with people whom he knows very well, who he's worked with very comfortably for an extended period of time, to give the mutual fund a great running start. So I think I'm very excited about what we're able to transfer by way of value to the mutual fund. George, how are we thinking about new schemes that we want to launch? There seems to be well over 1,000 funds in the industry, and for an investor it must be a maze to choose from. And every year the media profiles a few funds that are doing really well, and naturally people are tempted to sell what's not doing well and buy what's doing well, and often that turns out precisely to be the wrong thing to do. Investing is about buying low and selling high, and people end up doing the opposite because of the stimulus. How are we thinking about this situation, Are we going to launch a large number of funds?
Our approach is diametrically opposite to what you just mentioned. We plan to launch just 3 funds: an equity fund, a hybrid fund, and a fixed income fund. A fund in each category. This ties into our philosophical conviction that it is best to do a few things and do them really well, committing all our resources to make sure that it's a success. This also takes away the difficulty of the client having to choose from a range of investment strategies, each of which inherently is subject to market risk. Having said that, it puts a lot of onus on us to deliver. But this is the approach we've always taken, and in the last 20 years we've succeeded.
George, in the past when I've recommended a fund to clients, I've had people come back to me years later sometimes, and I'm happy to see them and say, you made a great investment. Are you happy with that investment you made? And I'm surprised that people don't share that happiness because they seem to have stepped off at the wrong time. And I've seen this pattern of a gap between the returns that the investment manager seems to be delivering, but his clients are not able to stay the course and participate in that return. Why is this happening?
Past 20 years as a wealth manager, I've observed this contradiction. In my opinion, investor behavior plays a crucial role here. Many investors are swayed by emotions or seemingly rational logic, both of which could lead them to time the market, which is again always fraught with risk and often leads to poor outcomes. The best way to bridge this gap is to communicate the conviction the fund manager has in a very effective manner. So it's both performance and customer handholding that ultimately translates into investor returns. In the past, as a wealth manager, I've delivered very high standards of customer service, but to a limited group of clients. My goal now is to achieve the same set of standards of service for our mutual fund customers and partners.
George, the mutual fund industry sets such high standards for professional independence and capability on multiple fronts. Plus, operationally, we need to make some really important long-term choices. How are we approaching the state of readiness?
Sharath, we are well positioned with the right people, technology, and systems to build a nationwide asset management firm. On the investment side, we have the group's time-tested framework in place for portfolio management service and research. As you had mentioned earlier, Saravanan and his team have been working together for almost 18 years at the group, and we have them on board taking charge of the investment function. Through a combination of in-house talent and experts, we have put in place a robust risk and compliance framework. We also have access to top-tier technology through strategic partnerships, which will help with our operations. We also aim to harness Unifi Group's expansive reach and maximize the digital footprint.